Hey, once again, good morning to everyone. So today we are going to cover some of the topic is like which is based on the service endpoint, and then later on we are going to cover the DDoS, that distributed denial of services, and then Azure Bastion as well. But before coming on those points, right? What is the service endpoint? Why do when we need this service endpoint, right? We discussed that private endpoint. If you guys remember, we covered that private endpoint, right? Which is uh, this private endpoint, what it will do, if you have any PaaS services, right? The PaaS services, which I mean, say, like platform as in services, right? Like in previous class, we discussed storage account, which is one of that PaaS-based service, right? And then for that PaaS-based services, like there are many PaaS-based services are there in Azure cloud, right? Which Azure is going to provide that platform, and we are going to utilize that services and going to pay the cost as per that uh, utilization we are doing it. Like here, what we are doing it storage account, right? What we were doing on the storage account, we were bringing out our storage, like we were bringing out our data, right? And then we were putting it inside the storage account. There are different ways to store it inside that. Like if you guys remember, there are containers, right? Inside that container, we were creating that blobs, different types of blobs, right? And then second thing, we seen that file share, right? How we can create that file share and it can be accessible. Sujit, please go on a mute. Across that environment, right? And then we also discussed that queue storage, which is a messaging service. Uh, that consumer and that provider, right? What happened that provider was putting that message inside that queues and then consumer taking it as per their requirement, right? And then later on, we discussed that table as well, table storage. What happened with the table storage that all the data, right, in a key values pair, in a key values pair, we were storing it inside that table storage, right? If you guys remember these things we discussed. So this is about the storage account. What was happened with that storage account? We were just bringing out. I was saying, hey, I have like let's say uh 5 gigs of file, any file, anywhere, whether it's a structured data, unstructured data, right? I have 5 gigs of file and I need to store it somewhere so I can access it as per my requirement, right? Across the world, like I'm sitting in a US or I'm sitting in a India or I'm sitting in somewhere in remote location on North Europe, right? I want this data to be accessible to me at any point of time, right? And I do have this 5 gigs of data to me, right? Then Azure is saying, hey, bring out your data, put it inside the storage account, right? And then you will be able to access it from where you want to access it there. So they are providing a platform, right? I'm just bringing out my data and that's it. I'm paying the charge as per I'm utilizing their storage account there. Different means of storing the data, they are providing it here, right? So this is called a PaaS-based service. This is called a platform as a service. We've seen that IS services, right? Like VNet, right? VNet, subnet, front door, right? Application gateway. All these are the all these are our application gate infrastructure based as in services there, right? Now, if I'm saying it, these are the infrastructure as in services there, right? Now, we came to platform as in services, which we are discussing it here, right? One thing we discussed with the storage account, this is very huge in like this service is very large, right? Or I can say it's a backbone. It's a backbone for storage account, backbone for Azure environment, for Azure cloud, right? Many services are getting uh, inside one umbrella, right? You have container, file share, queues, tables, then you can use them as per their requirement. Now, one second. Now, so this is what platform as in services is there, right? Now, I was talking about, we discussed that private endpoint. I'm just taking a 5 minutes of quick recap, right, which we discussed previously. right? Then we came to private endpoint. We were discussing. Hey Vijay, please go on mute. Please, Vijay, I need to once again let me mute everyone. Okay. Now, so we were discussing in our previous class, if you seen the recording or if you joined that session, right? We discussed about the private endpoint. We discussed about that private endpoint, right? What is that private endpoint? Just to take a summarize here, right? So private endpoint is nothing. It's just a way to access the PaaS-based service, to access a PaaS-based service securely and privately. To access that service securely and privately, right? Why I'm saying that? Why I'm saying that securely and privately? Because the storage account which we discussed, right? Or any PaaS-based services which we are going to discuss coming up, right? This storage account, right, or any PaaS services is provide you a method to access that particular platform over the internet, right? Over the internet. You won't get the mechanism, you won't get any mechanism to access that service privately, right? When I'm saying it privately, what I mean by that, like you have your on-prem infra, right? You know that you have your you're working in a company and you have your own setup, you have on-prem infra, and there is one application, right? Let's say there is a HR data application is there, where your company's HR is storing your salary slip, your offer letter, right? Your breakup of taxes and all of that, they are storing it, which is very sensitive and very critical data, right? For anyone, right? Now, what happened? If there are multiple ways to access that platform, right? Let's say you have a URL called xyz.com, right? You log in there xyz.com, and then you provide your user ID credentials, and then you access your salary slip or offer letter, right? Whatever you want to access it. So there is a one way of doing that, right? And there's another way. I can go over the internet and then type xyz.com and then access it from there as well, right? So there are multiple ways you can access it. But if I'm saying it, this service, xyz.com, that HR data which I'm placing it, it is like it should only be accessible internally. What I mean by that, when the person will have their private IP address, right? Let's say I'm that XYZ.com employee, right? So what I do not want that this data should be accessible over the internet because that salary slip offer letter is not meant for others, right? So that company is providing a mechanism. They are saying, okay, you want to access it internally, you can do that. Connect your VPN. Once you get that VPN, you'll get the private IP address, and then you can browse that URL xyz.com, right? My data will only be accessible within that private network. It won't going for that internet. Same way, same way, what happened with that pathway services? They provide you mechanism to access that platform, whether storage account, keyword, any other, right? Over the internet. There is no mechanism to access it. By default, no mechanism to access it over the internet. Sorry, privately, right? So for that part, they comes with that private endpoint. They comes with the private endpoint. I mean, we all know, right? To access any services, we need to have that IP address or IP address or FQDN, right? We need to have that, right? But this storage account or any pass-based services, they won't provide you any IP address. If you remember, in our very initial classes, I told, right? If IP address, right? You get any IP address from the VNet and subnet, that means it's not that pass-based service. It will be infrastructure as in services, right? But here you're not getting any IP addresses with the storage account by default, right? That means it's a private, it's a pass-based service. Now, if I want to access it privately, I need to have some IP address there. I need to have some IP address from there. But from where I'm going to get the private IP address, right? Obviously, I'm going to get it from the VNet, right? But getting that IP address, how I'm going to attach it with my storage account? Let's say I got one IP address from that VNet subnet, right? 10.1.1.1. That's okay. I have that IP address with me, right? But I want this IP address should be attached with that storage account. So I can access whatever services are inside there, my storage account. So how I'm going to do that? That's something which I'm going to do it via private endpoint. What happened with the private endpoint? When you click that private endpoint, when you create this private endpoint, it's going to spin out a dedicated NIC. Like in case we do it for virtual machine, it's going to spin out a network interface card for you, right? And that network interface card will have that IP address. So let's say I've taken one IP from that VNet and subnet, and that IP is 10.1.1.1. So 10.1.1.1. I have that IP address with that NIC. I got it from that VNet and subnet. Now what I'm going to do is that NIC via private IP, private endpoint, that NIC I'm going to attach it with storage account. That NIC I'm going to attach it with my storage account here, right? Now, to access any service, you won't have to go for any URL or you won't have to go for anything, right? As soon as you are creating that NIC with the private endpoint, a private DNS zone is also going to be spin out, right? That's going to map with this IP address. Now, to access the storage account, you just need to access this IP address, which in turn give you that access of storage account. This is what private endpoint. Similarly for other services as well, like that key vault, which is again a pass-based service, a keyword, right? What happened with the keyword also? The same mechanism. The mechanism will remain same. A NIC will going to spin out with the private IP address. Again, I'm taking it, let's say 10.1.1.2, right? That NIC with the private IP address, you're going to create that private endpoint and attach it with that keyword. Now, to access your keyword, you just need to access this IP address, and then there will be an FQDN is going to be generated. Private DNS zone by default. By default, a private DNS zone is going to be generated, which going to give the lookup of this IP address. Okay, there are many services are there. Like one, we discussed storage account. Second is like important services we are talking about. Key vault, we are going to discuss that. Third is like function app. It's a serverless function, right? Serverless compute system, which what it will do, it will say, hey, I want to build one e-com application. I'm saying it, I want to one e-com application where I'm selling mobile, right? Selling watches and all that. All that stuff I'm selling it here, right? I just have code with me, nothing else. I just have that my e-com application code. I do not have any firewall with me. I do not have any router switches. I do not have any physical connectivities. I do not have any sort of things which we need to have it for our application to work, right? Then Azure is saying, no worries. I have all of this for you. Just bring out your code and put it inside the function app, right? And then within a matter of minute, your application is going to be ready. So that is also a PaaS-based service. You can also access that internally via private endpoint, right? Now, so that is about the private endpoint, which we seen in our previous classes. Now, what is this service endpoint then? What is this service endpoint? We have a clear understanding on private endpoint, which going to spin out a NIC. You access your service privately and securely within that Microsoft backbone network. Then why this private service endpoint, right? So service endpoint, first thing is, I'm saying it private endpoint is to access it privately and securely. That is for private endpoint. But service endpoint will not offer you private connectivity. Your your application, right, or whatever that service you're using it, it's still going for that internet. You won't be blocking any what I'm saying. You won't be blocking any private public connectivity. Your let's for an example, take again the storage account. Yes, Vidit, I started the recording. So, one second. Yes, Vidit started. You guys are able to see my screen, right? Can someone please confirm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, so we have a clear understanding on private endpoint, right? Now, why this service endpoint is needed when we have that private connectivity, we have that securing our services, any PaaS services on Microsoft backbone network, then why do I need this service endpoint, right? Now, service endpoint is the major difference. If I'll talk about, this is my service endpoint, this is my private endpoint. They both have that kind of similar terms, right? But service endpoint, you won't be blocking your any services which you are accessing from that internet, like let's say storage account, right? So here I'm saying it, I can block my access from that internet and I can access it privately, right? So private access I can provide it here, but here no private access, but there is more secure way. There is a secure way to access your endpoint. What I mean by that, think about that. Again, you have the storage account. We talked about storage account, so I'm just taking that example of storage account. So we have a storage account here, right? Now I'm saying it. Let's say you have any container. Let's say you created one container. Inside that container, you placed a blob. Let's say you uploaded a file, which is called text. A text file you uploaded it here, text.txt, right? Now you are saying it, hey, I know there is a way of private endpoint to access it privately, right? Which is more secure and best way to access it. But still I'm saying it, I need to access this text dot file secure way over the internet also. Secure way over the internet also, right? Then what happened? You can access it within that VNet. This is something which I'm talking about within that VNet. Then you can go for the service endpoint. What happened with this one, which you are going to see the demo? Let's see, you have one VNet here. You have one VNet, right? Let's any VNet one, you have VNet one here, right? What happened with the VNet one? You are going to create that service endpoint within that VNet. I'll show you how you are going to create that service endpoint, right? How you are going to create that for all that services like storage account. There are some limitation. There are only limited services are there, but all these service storage account, key vault, right? Function app or any other services which is there, right? They have some tags defined. Like you here, what you're doing it here, you're accessing container inside that blob, right? So for container inside the blob, you're going to create the service endpoint and you're going to seeing that tags. We call it service tags. We call it as service tags. Service tags, right? So here I'm storing accessing my storage account. So I'm saying it storage account service tag. Storage account service tag. I'm going to create it that service endpoint inside that VNet for that tag of storage account. Okay. Now, once you created that service endpoint here, once you created that service endpoint here, right, with the tags of storage account. Similarly, if key vault is there, for an example, let's say, right, the tags are, let's say you have the key vault tag. Select that key vault tags, right, in that VNet for creating the service endpoint, right? You did that, you created that, right? Now, the next thing is what you need to do, you need to go inside the storage account, right? Inside the networking section and allow this VNet as to access your storage account. I'll tell you again. So for now what I need to do, I created service endpoint. Now I'm going to tell that storage account inside the networking section, and I'm going to tell you, hey, my VNet one, right? VNet one, allow this VNet one to access your storage account there, right? Two steps you need to do it here. One thing is, let me repeat it again. You have one VNet, right? This is the secure way. Service endpoint is the secure way to access your service within that VNet. Okay. Now you have at the same time, you're not blocking. If I'm sitting on internet, right? Let's say this time, this person is there. This person sitting on the internet. And this person is also want to access your service, the storage account, right? He can access it. This person can also access it, right? But here in the private endpoint, if I want to block this communication and only allow that private communication, I can do that. But here I'm not blocking it. Here I'm not blocking it. This is still accessible to me, right? But what I need to do for my service endpoint, then again, let me repeat it. You have one VNet one, right? Inside that VNet, you will be get a dedicated option to create a service endpoint. So you need to go in the service endpoint. You will find different tags are there. Different service tags are there, right? Here I'm accessing my storage account, right? So I can take that storage account tags, right? And I'm saying it service endpoint for storage account. Not this only, right? You can also restrict your communication basis on the location wise. Let's say I am deployed my storage account. Let's say here I deployed my storage account in North Europe. For example, I deployed my North Europe location. This is the location where my storage account is accessible, right? So I can select that service endpoint in my VNet, right? I can select my service endpoint in my VNet service tag, which correspond to storage account, right? Storage account in North Europe location, right? Now this VNet will going to access your storage account only in North Europe, because you, whatever the location you have it, right? You have that service tags created in your storage account for your North Europe location, right? I'll tell you the reason, the funda behind this service tag is there, right? But for now, I'll just show you. But for now, just think about this one, right? So you created a storage account in North Europe location, right? Now, you go inside the storage account and tell that inside the networking section, hey, this is what VNet which I created it, right? With my service tag of North Europe. Allow that communication in your storage account communication there, right? So once you do that, right, this VNet is going to access your storage account via service tag, which is service endpoint. Now, you must be having a question, right? By providing the service tag, how I'm going to access my services there? If we go on the internet, right? Let's say if I'll show you in the internet here, there are some end public endpoints are there, right? Uh, Storage account. Let me show you something. Storage account, public IP address. Right. Let me show you that. JSON list. It will be in JSON format. Yeah, these are the IP address and service tags. See, all these IP address, right? If I'll show you that storage account. See, these are the storage account, right? Now they have the tags, right? They have the tags called storage account. These all are the IP addresses, right? There are, if we do not what say, let's say I said it right, you can access it via service tag. I told you you can access your services via service tags, right? But if you are saying it, hey, this is like complicated way. You can access, you can put this IP address. These all IP address are also there. You can put it all IP addresses are there. And then you can access with that IP address. But this is not recommended. This is not recommended. And this is not the ideal way also to access it. Why? Because Azure frequently changes their IP addresses. Azure frequently changes these IP addresses which are saying it, right? They are frequently change these IP addresses there, right? But all that IP addresses which you are putting it, right? They bind it with that service tag. That's what when I'm saying it, uh, for the North Europe, you have your storage account for the North Europe, right? You are accessing via service tags. So whatever the IP addresses are there, you don't have to take any tension on that, right? You have that service tag, which is again going to bind with that IP address. But that IP address dynamically service tag will take it. If any IP, let's say I have list of IP address 1.1.1.1, 2.2.2.2, 3.3.3.3, right? All of them is bind with my service tag. If for an example, let's say this IP address got changed, this IP address got changed. As you change this IP address to 4.4.4.4, right? If you're using it via IP addresses, right? You need to update your IP address list in your whitelisting. You need to update that. You need to update that, right? But if you're using that service tag, if you're using that service tag, you don't have to worry about that. It's automatically, dynamically, it's going to maintain that IP address in their bucket. You just need to see that service tag which you're providing it here. So again, I'm accessing it over the internet, right? I'm going for that these public IP address which is there. I'm not saying I'm going to access it via private access, like the way I was saying it in my private endpoint. Here I'm going to access it over the internet, but more sophisticated way to access it, right? Via service tag and service endpoint. This is what service endpoint is there. One thing is there is no cost for now. No cost as of now till this point, right? Till 14th of December, right? I'm saying it. Azure won't charge you anything to access that service endpoint. However, the private endpoint is costly service. right? They charge you for every private endpoint you are creating it, right? But service endpoint, there won't be any charges there. Now, other thing is I'll talk about service endpoint is a secure way to access your public endpoint. Public endpoint to access your public endpoint secure way. Okay. But private endpoint is best in security, right? And you are accessing your endpoint privately only, right? You guys can relate that, right? Like that if I'm accessing my service within that privately, not going on the internet, right? Which is more security way, right? Which is more secure, like the on-prem connectivity with that cloud and all that, right? So two major difference. If I'll add more difference here, right? Not blocking. I'm not blocking that. Not blocking public access. If have the storage account there, right? And I'm saying it, hey, that storage account also, uh, a person X from the internet want to access it. They can access it, right? And person Y on private network, not the private network, on that VNet, right? They want to access it. They can access it. Similarly, at the same time, private endpoint, I have more private sort of thing, right? I can block this person X access and only allow that private connectivity. So this person, if still this person X on this internet want to access it, right? They first need to have some sort of connectivity with private network, and from that private network, they can access it. Okay. Now, uh, yeah, so these are the major things which we discussed, right? Let's move to the demo and then we'll make more sense to you guys, right? Let me log into my these are all private, these are all that uh, public IP address which are saying it, right? These are all Microsoft belonging private public IP address, right? They changed that, right? So what happens? Sometimes we also get the requirement to whitelist that IP addresses for the Azure endpoint, right? So if they are saying it, hey, whitelist that IP address for storage account or for keyword or for any other services, right? What we need to do, what we do in that case, we go for the storage account, right? Let's, for an example, I'm going for the storage account here. I'll take that IP address from that particular region, that region which I want to access it, right? And I have at least all that IP address there. For other services also, I think they will be having it here for keyword. See, this is that. This is for the keyword dot Australia region, right? They have these IP address for Australia Central region. There are IPv6 also, IPv4 also, right? So you can do that. For other regions also, you will find it there. Like Central India, you have all these IP addresses. This is very handy list, right? You should be keeping with you, right? For example, let's say anything which is coming in, right? Let's say uh, some IP address came to your environment and they are accessing that storage account, but you're not sure about that where these IP addresses are belonging to, right? You can take that IP address and you can match it if it's that Microsoft ISP or someone else is trying to access that, right? So that's like pretty much on what you can do to see that Mexico Central and many other things are there, right? Let me just go on my portal there. Let me log in it there. Okay. Now, this is what like I logged into my subscription here, right? First thing, first I'm going to create a VNet, a simple VNet here, right? Let me create a VNet. We are going to see the demo. Yeah. No storage, no resource group. Let me create that. We all know that this is how we need to create. So I'm just taking a fast forward here. Demo. Let's say I'm saying it SE SE demo VNet. Next, next. I'll just keep it short. It is here. I'll just say it /20. Next, next. Review and create. Review and create here. Now, till the time this VNet is creating, VNet got created. Let me go in a virtual machine here. I'll create one virtual machine here. Again, demo. I'll say it. This will be my public IP, right? So what the architecture which I'm going to do it here, let me just draw a simple architecture to show you, right? So I'm going to create one storage account. Going to create one storage account here, right? This is my storage account. Now, after this storage account, right, I'm going to create one VNet. This is my VNet, which we called SEVNet. SEVNet demo. We can create it. I'm going to create one IP VM. This VM will have that public IP. We'll create another VM, VM2, with no public IP, only private IP address. Okay, only private IP address, no PIP. No PIP here, right? Now, what I'll do it here, first, I'll take that VM access via public IP. I'll take that VM access via public IP, and then once I'll have that public IP, I'll have some connectivity, or I'll create that rule allow to take that private access of this VM2. Okay, I'll show you how I can take my storage account access via private IP via service endpoint. So VM2 will have VM1 have public IP. We'll take that public IP access, right? We'll take that RDP. We'll take the RDP of VM1. Now from the VM1, I'll take that private access of VM2, which do not have any private IP, right? Public IP. But I'll take that access on private network, right? Let's say this is having 10.1.1.1 and this is 10.2.2.2. So I'll take the 10.2.2.2 RDP from there, right? First thing, I'll show you, I will be able to access from this VM1 the storage account via public endpoint, right? Via public endpoint, and then, sorry, not with this one because they are inside the same VNet. I'll show you, I'll take that VM2 access, and will access the storage account via service endpoint. I'll create that service endpoint and we'll show you, but I'll take that VM2 access, not with that public one, because like there is no private public IP address, right? There is no internet communication is happening. So how I'm going to take that storage account access via service endpoint on VNet level. So this is what I'm going to do it. So for now, I created a VNet, right? Going to create VM1, going to create VM2, and then going to create storage account there quickly, right? Let me do that then. If you guys still have some queries, let me know. So what I'm going to do, let me summarize again. This is my storage account. Created one storage account, right? Created one VNet. I'll do one thing. I'll create a small one and place it here. So we'll have there. So this is my storage account. This is my storage account, right? Right. And then this is my VNet, which I created, right? This is my VNet SE VNet demo, right? This is what I created. SE VNet demo. 2 VMs, VM1 with PIP, VM2 no PIP, which means public IP address. VM2 no PIP, right? From VM1, right? I'm going to take that, right? How I'm going to take the VM2 access, right? Since I do not have any public IP. So that's what I'm deploying VM1. Take that RDP. Take that RDP. And from VM1 RDP, I'll take that VM2 RDP. Take that RDP. Okay. Take the RDP. Now, from that VM2, right? Since inside the VNet, I'm going to create a service endpoint and then we'll take that storage account access via SE, via service endpoint there. That's what I'm going to do it here. So creating a virtual machine now, I'll call it as a VM1 because this will have that public IP. And then While creating this, right, I'm also going to tell you that Azure Bastion. What is that Bastion, right? It's very small service, but very healthy service or very handful, right? You are going to see it there. Let me put it there. Easy admin. Next, I'll keep everything as it is here. Not going to change anything. Now, SE demo, I'm going to use it inside the default subnet, right? And then with the public IP address VM1. Next, 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 next. Then create. Right? I'm going to create this VM1. It's going to create that, right? Do that. Now, in the meantime, this is creating. I'm going to create another subnet for my VM, which is not having that public IP address, which I'm going to create. So let me create another subnet here, keeping everything as it is. Default to subnet, I'm creating it. So default to 10.0.1.1. Go back to VM, create another VM with no public IP. Demo 1, VM2. Same reason, right? Everything as it is. Not changing anything here. Just putting that username, easy admin, putting my password. Next, next. I'll select the default to submit. And then I do not want to have any public IP address. Let me delete that, none. Change that IP address to none, right? I do not want any IP address. Then next, review and create. Okay, great. So far what we did, what we have done so far, created this VNet, done. This VNet creation is done. VM1 creation is done. VM2 creation is also done, right? So what left? Storage account and then service endpoint configuration. Let's just create that service endpoint storage account first, right? Get the service endpoint. Everything I'm doing it in my central India. So I'm going to create my storage account also in central India. Very simple here. Search it the storage account. I mean, there are multiple ways to create the resource, right? Either you can search it from this global search bar, or either you can go in a marketplace, right? Click here on the create resource, or you can search it that marketplace here, right? And then from here also you can find your services. Like let's say I'm saying it's storage account, right? Which way you want to have it here, more comfortable, you can do that, right? Like that there are multiple all that storage accounts which Azure and third party is providing to you. Look at there, right? These are all that Azure provided, right? But if I'll come down here, see, there are other services as well, right? S3 API for Azure blobs provided by Flexify Inclusive, right? This NetApp, right? They are providing the storage account NetApp, right? Leap Orbit storage. So inside that marketplace, you will find all that uh, services provided by the different vendors, right? But here we are talking about the storage account, Azure, right? So that's also one thing, right? Like here, let's say File Image LLC, they're providing that SFTP browser blob storage, right? The Ton Technologies, they are providing this one, right? So all of them will have their different vendors. You can find it inside that marketplace, right? Like the same way, right? You guys are aware about that firewall. So if I'll say it, firewall, right? I'm saying it just firewall. See, So this is that Azure firewall, Sophos firewall is there, right? Sophos provide their own next generation firewall. Fortinet, Fortigate, they are providing it there, right? Uh, Next generation firewall, SRX, right? If you come down here, Qualys, which is that virtual appliance, right? We firewall virtual appliance or vulnerability management, right? They're providing it here. Azure firewall for Sentinel, they are a web application firewall. Fortinet, OpSense, right? All that vendor, Forcepoint, next generation, Cisco, right? ASA, VM series, Palo Alto firewall, Sonic Wall, Barracuda, right? You can see many firewalls and many vendors are providing it there, right? So you can get it from there. Now, someone asked like how we can do that firewall deployment. Uh, we are going to take that classes in later on, but yeah, very simple. Come here and take that any firewall vendor, right? Any vendors you want to take it, right? Like for next generation firewall, FortiGate, and then provide your configuration, create and provide your configuration. But yeah, that's something not the part here. We're going to tell it later. I'm going to create the storage account. So this is my storage account demo. Name of my storage account. Again, I told multiple times, right? The name should be unique. Why? Because the name you're going to provide one. Azure is going to provide you one FQDN, and that FQDN will have like in like the way if you have like HTTPS, right? It will be like in a name of your storage account name. Let's say I'm saying it my storage account name STG1, and then it will be have a Azure storage, right? Dot com kind of, and then whatever the you want to access the blob or you want to access your container inside the blob table and whatever you want to access, it's going to be like a container. Let's say my container one name is container one, and then my blob name is text dot txt, right? This way you're going to Azure is going to provide you one FQDN, right? If two storage account name will have the same name, then how you're going to differentiate your name? So that's what they are saying it. This name should be globally unique, right? So I'm providing that name here. Let's say if I'm providing demo, it won't take that because the demo, I think they will someone created, right? Storage is already taken. Now let me provide that demo create. This is fine now, right? Central India, primary reason I'm saying it. Sure. Then everything, GRS, it was enabling all public access, not creating any private endpoint, and then enabling all access here. Go for the storage account that we have in our last classes. If you have any questions, come with me. Come to me. I'll try to answer that. So creating a storage account here, right? Now till the time this storage account is getting created, let's just move to the VNet. Which VNet? The VNet which we discussed, right? Let's just move to that VNet here. Our VNet is here. Inside that VNet, SE demo VNet, right? Settings. You're seeing one option called service endpoint. You're saying that option of service endpoint. Private endpoint is also there, which we done, right? Service endpoint, you're saying it. Click on that service endpoint. No service endpoint is there. This, I mean, for now, Azure is not costing anything, right? Azure is not charging anything for creating that service endpoint. Let's just create that service endpoint, right? So I'm saying they're asking what service you want to have it, right? See all that services. Azure Active Directory, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure Event Hub, Key Vault, Service Bus, SQL, Storage Account, Storage Global, Storage Web. So they have all that services if you're selecting the storage account, right? Now, forget about the service endpoint policies. We'll take that later on. But yeah, that policies, you can put it there if you want to refine more fine grain access, right? But I'm saying it now, they're asking which subnet you want to have that access for your storage account. Let's say I'm saying it global. For now, let me off it for the global, right? SQL and then global. These are the service tags, right? Now, they are saying it. Now, which subnet you want to have it your access? So I think I have my VM2, which is having that private IP address, which is we do not have any public IP address in default to, right? So I'm selecting that subnet, default to subnet, right? I can select both of them, but I'm selecting the default to subnet here, right? and then Microsoft Storage Global. This is what I'm creating. And then click on add. That's it. Creating that service endpoint in my VNet is done. The next option, if you remember, right, I told you first thing I need to create my service endpoint in my VNet. And then second thing inside that storage account. So VNet, inside this VNet, I am creating this service endpoint here. For what? For my storage account service tag. Storage account service tag. Right? The next thing I need to do it here in my storage account. In my storage account, I need to go in my networking section and will allow this VNet to access this storage account. I'll tell you how. Let me show you that. But now refresh it. Wait for the time. See, this is updating and this is creating that, right? So storage account, the subnet default to on which my VM is there, succeeded, right? Wait for that this to be updated to go. Now this is done, right? This got created, storage account global and default to and succeed. Now I'm hoping my storage account is also got created. Yeah, it's there, demo QT. Click here. Now inside this the networking section which you're seeing it there, right? Inside this networking, come down inside the networking. Now currently all public access is enabled, right? All public access is enabled for now, right? And then I'm saying it. So for now, if I'll enable that all public access, right, which means everywhere from anywhere, like if you are accessing it from some location, right, you will also be able to access my storage account because this public access is enabled currently, right? So this will be able to storage account. Now, so if this public access is enabled, right, which means anywhere from anywhere, like this person from some location in world, right? This person from any location across the universe, not the universe on the earth, and this person is also from that earth can access this storage account, right? But now, if I'm saying it right, okay, let's just test it out this first, right? Let's just test it out this first. Enable all public access. Uh, I'm not doing anything for my storage account. I'm not doing anything for my uh, service endpoint, right? Let me show you that. And if you remember, I told you how you can access your storage account. There is one way to access it from storage browser, right? Or the other way is to download one tool, which we call Storage Explorer. Storage Explorer, right? Storage Explorers are there, right? To download from there. I do have that tool in me. So first thing I'm trying to access it from internet. Enable all public access, right? With no service endpoint configuration on my storage account. Although I created it on my VNet level, but not done it any configuration, not allowed any VNet on this storage account. Now let's access it from the internet. I do have that Storage Explorer downloaded earlier in my previous class. So what I'm going to do it here, I'm going to search it here, right? Storage. Yeah, it's there. Storage Explorer, right? Very simple to download it here. If you guys are not aware about that, just put that on the Google download. It's a free open source to download Azure Storage, right? Storage Explorer, download Azure Storage Explorer. Right, and then get started with the storage. I'll paste this link on the chat so you guys can be able to go it there. Okay. right? Download this Windows and all that. So I already have that, right? So that's what I'm not going to download there. But yeah, you can take that. Let me paste that here. And we'll share that link on the chat. So you guys can also explore that, right? Let me put it on the chat. You guys can copy it from the chat there. Meeting group chat. I shared on the chat also. So since I already have that, right? So what I'm going to do it here. And first thing before that, right? Let me create something in my storage account because I just created a blank storage account. I have not put it anything there, right? So what I need to do it there, data storage, container, right? Container, upload one container. I'm saying it, this container is SE demo. All that things, right? I'm keeping as it is. Created one container. Inside this container, I'm going to upload one file. Let me upload one file here. Let me upload that file. Second, let me browse my system. What I'm doing it here, I'm uploading one file which called app setting.development.json file. So this got uploaded here, right? Now I'm going to connect my storage account. So I created one container. Inside that container, this demo app setting development JSON dot, which I uploaded there, right? It's just nothing. It's just a simple .NET application I created. Now, what I'm going to do it now, I'm going to connect my storage account. How can I create for my there, right? If you remember, I told you two ways, right? One is secured access signature, right? Shared access signature, SaaS, right? Which provide you granular level of access of your storage. But if you're sharing that keys, right? Which keys? That keys which is here, that access keys, right? If you're sharing that access key, let's say I got this access keys, right? So then I will be able to do anything which I want to do it on my storage account. So uh, just very, what I say, very put this thing in a mind, right? When while sharing that access to your storage account, always share that shared access signature, right? Generate that shared access signature and then share that with the person, right? Because that keys will have that all that access. Let me show you that. I'm going to log in with that keys, right? So what I'm going to copy my storage account name, sign in with Azure, right? Azure next. It's going to log into my Azure account first. Let me log into my storage account. Just putting the password here. So I logged into here. Go back to storage account, Explorer. Okay, close. Now, this is I have there. Now what I need to do it here, I need to connect my storage account. Right? This is my storage account. Connect to storage account. Connecting to storage account here, right? And then I'm saying it key and access. Now I need to put my name. Sorry. Cancel. Connect to storage account. Saying it account name and keys. There are multiple ways, right? SaaS, which we discussed, key or SaaS connection string you can provide, or you can provide the name and keys. So I'm saying it name and keys. What is the name of my storage account? It is democurity, right? What is that keys? Copy that key. So this is that key which I'm going to copy it here and then putting it here. Okay. And then next and then connect. Okay. So it's connected to my democurity, right? Let's just see if I'm able to browse that. Yeah. See, I'm able to browse my everything. The demo is here, right? and then app jar settings for file is there, right? Now this is, I'm going to access it. Why? How? I'm accessing it over the internet, right? This is what internet. And how I'm able to access this internet? Because this connection in the networking, right? Which is allowed to access everything from all network, right? But now let's do one thing, right? Let me disable that. Let me disable that, right? I'm disabling this access. So I'm not disabling public access here, right? That's public access got disabled here. And let's just see, still I'm able to access my account or not, right? So, see, no data is available. The request is not authorized to perform this operation. Now I'm getting this error. Why? Because I disabled that access for my internet. No internet access is there, right? As soon as disable that, I will not be able to access it with the internet, right? Now, this is about that internet access. Now let's just do one thing. Now allow my my VNet on which I created a service endpoint. So VNet is demo AC VNet. Okay. With subnet, I want to get that access default to, which have my VM with no public IP. VM with no public IP. Right? It's showing the service endpoint is required for default because I created a default to with the service endpoint. Okay. Let's just add it here. So what I did, I allowed that demo VNet, right? And then default to subnet. That's it. Nothing else I need to do it. And then I'm going to click on save. Okay. I'm going to click on save. That's it, right? Now what I need to do, I'm going to log into my VM2, right? Going to log into my VM2 and then we'll access this storage account. You guys are following me, right? Any questions so far? Any doubt? If you have any doubt, feel free to ask on the chat, right? I'll take that. But now what I'm going to do it, like the architecture which we discussed, right? The architecture which we discussed, what we were saying it, right? Previously, if you remember, I created one storage account here, that demo QT storage account, right? Demo QT storage account. And then this is that VNet, which I created here, right? SE VNet, SE VNet demo, right? SE VNet demo. Now inside this SE VNet demo, I created two VM, VM1 in default subnet with public IP, right? Default SNet. VM2, VM2 with no PIP, right? In default 2 subnet. Okay. Now, for this default 2 subnet, what I did, I created a service endpoint. How? I just selected the storage account global tag, right? And from there, I created this service endpoint. I created this service endpoint for the default 2, right? We try to access this storage account over the internet. How? From my local machine, I tried to access it via storage account explorer. And I was able to do that, right? But when I blocked that public access, right, I was not able to browse my storage account, right? The next thing which I'm going to do it here, I'm going to take that RDP of VM1 and then take the RDP from that VM1, take the RDP of VM2. And then since only I allowed this default to subnet in my storage account also, right? I just inside the networking section, if you remember seen that, right? I allowed that access for my default to subnet, right? And then from there, I'm going to access my storage account because public access is not allowed for now. Okay, this is what I'm going to do it now. Let's just go there, take that RDP, connect. Now, since I'm on this VM1, right? I'll take this privilege to tell you about that Bastion as well. This is a Bastion, right? So if you remember, if you've seen that so far, how I'm connecting this VM, I'm just clicking on the connect, downloading that RDP file, downloading that RDP file, downloading that RDP file, and then accessing this story, my virtual machine. This is what I'm doing it so far. Okay. But what it's doing it there, this RDP file download, what it's doing it, right? You're connecting your VM over the internet. You're connecting your VM over the internet, over the public internet, correct? Because from this public IP, right, I am accessing my connection for this RDP. Correct? This is what I'm doing it with my RDP, right? This is what I'm doing with my RDP. But what if I'll tell you there is a way to access this virtual machine RDP without that internet, without going on that internet, without going on that internet, right? So that way we call it as a Azure Bastion service. We call that service as a Azure Bastion, right? Azure Bastion service. Okay. This Azure Bastion service, what it will do, it will going to first thing, it's a secure way to access your virtual machine, either Windows, either Linux, right? If you have Windows, you can take that RDP. You have Linux, you can take that SSH. Okay. Now, instead of going on the internet, what it's going to do it, when you select that Azure Bastion, it's going to deploy a Bastion client. It's going to deploy a Bastion client, right? And from that Bastion client, you're going to take that RDP, browser-based RDP of your virtual machine. Browser-based RDP of virtual machine. Okay. Now, there are a couple of things you need to take into mind, right? To take that Bastion access, you need to have that portal access. You need to have that Azure portal access. If we do not have Azure portal access, like that, we do not provide the developers, right? For the developer which is there, right? We do not provide the developer for portal access, right? In that case, this Bastion service is not for them, right? But the person is having that portal access, they can access it, then they can browse for the Bastion. It's a more secure way. How? Let me show you that. Now, instead of click on connect, right? There are two options. One is connect, download the RDP file, and then you can do that, right? Connect via Bastion. I'm clicking on connect via Bastion. Now, as soon as I'm clicking on the connect via Bastion, right? See there, Bastion is secure and securely RDP and SSH without the need to expose them to the public internet, public IP address, right? Now, if I'll click, it's going to deploy one Bastion client. What Bastion client? It will be on the name of this Bastion. Resource group is this one inside this VNet, and then it will take that IP address, public IP address, and which attach this with the Bastion client. Deploy that Bastion. I'm just deploying that, right? I'm deploying this Bastion service, right? It's going to, the subnet is going to be created, and that subnet name always is going to be Azure Bastion server. Let me show you that. Deployed and with Bastion, right? Virtual network. Yeah. Right. If you go on a subnet, see Azure Bastion subnet, it's automatically deployed one Bastion server. You'll see that Bastion client is also there, right? But that, see, that subnet which I'm showing you, right? It's always going to be on the name of Azure Bastion subnet. Now, it's always going to be name on that Azure Bastion service, right? Now that's it. If you are going to go back to your virtual machine, VM1, right? This will be more handy, right? If you do not have your public access attached to this virtual machine, then how you're going to take that, right? In that case, you can connect with your Bastion. Now click on Bastion. Bastion is in updating state. Wait for some time. Once that update is done, it's come in a succeeding state. You will be able to take your Bastion access. I'll tell you how to take that. I'll show you how we're going to take that Bastion access. Now, one more thing is, right? Everything, whether it's a GCP, Azure, or AWS, there are three major contender in the cloud network is Azure, AWS, which you all know, and then third is GCP, right? We all from that IT background, so we all know that, right? Now, as of now, the market capture share is, as far I know, is 36% for that Azure, right? 26 was previously 29% for this one, and now 13% for this one. And then in rest of them, there are other like Oracle, Huawei, right? And then other clouds provider are also there. But these three are the major contender of the cloud provider. Now, the services, right? While we are studying that Azure services, whatever the services you have studied so far, I mean, any services, any A to Z service, whether it's a networking, PaaS, uh, infrastructure or SaaS, right? All that services, what you have it, same services you'll find it on your AWS, same service you'll find on that GCP, same concept and motive behind that, right? The only thing is name is going to be different. Here I'm saying it Azure Bastion. Here I'm saying it Azure Bastion. In the AWS, you're going to see that AWS Bastion. Let me compare you one thing, right? So why I'm telling you this one, I'll tell you, right? I told you the application load balancer, application gateway, right? You will find that application load balancer in AWS, application gateway in Azure, and application load balancer in AWS. You traffic manager, we studied, right? Traffic manager in our initial classes. You will find that Route 53 in AWS. Everything inside that, like the we have the routing methods, everything will remain same in the cloud, right? So it's very easy if you have proficient in one of the cloud, any of one of cloud, right? It won't take much time for you to understand the other cloud. Depending on your capacities and capabilities, you can get other cloud very easily because you will have the clear view on your concepts, right? You will have the clear view on the concept, right? It just GUI and portal is something different you need to find out. Okay, but the concept for every services will remain same. We call it here virtual machine. In AWS, we call it as a EC2. Everything will remain same EC2 and virtual machine. Everything. I mean, exact ditto things will have for each of them, right? So just to tell you that on that short note, but yeah, that's what it is. No, wait for this time till the bastion is deploying. This bastion will take some time, right? It takes some time to get the service deployed. Okay, in the meantime, this is deploying, right? I'll show you this bastion, how to take that bastion access also, but let's just take that RDP access and then we'll take that VM2 access from there, right? I'll show you that bastion as well for now, but for now, let's just take this one. Download the RDP file, open this RDP. Tell that bastion is deploying. We are going to complete our open this RDP, connect. So this is getting connected. So I'm connecting to my VM1. VM1 is getting connected. So now this is getting connected. I'm going to open that RDP from here. Okay. So if I'll try to access my storage account from this virtual machine, will I be able to access that? Any guess on that? If I'll try to access my storage account from this virtual machine, can someone answer on the chat? Like if I'll try to access my storage account from this virtual machine, will I be able to get that access?
I think yes, because you have
Why?
created the service point, right?
No, so I said that service endpoint I created for that particular subnet, right?
Yes.
For the default 2 subnet, but this is deployed inside the default 1. Yes,
So this is a
Vandana, I won't be able to get that.
this is
That's
a
correct.
VM1, right?
Yes,
I'll
yes.
tell you. I'll tell you why, Vaibhav. Let's just make sure. So if you see it here, right? If you go in the VNet, if you go in the VNet, right? You are saying it, I created a service endpoint, Vaibhav, right? See that service endpoint. In the service endpoint, I created the subnet default 2, correct? When I'm creating it, this one, it's asking me to provide the subnet here, right? Default 2, default 1. So I selected a default 2 here, right? And what is there inside the default 2? Inside the default 2, you have your VM, which do not have that public IP. Default is the subnet which have that public IP, right? If you saying that for the default to whatever the VM inside the default to, you will be still able to access your storage account, then that's correct, right? But I was asking if I'm able to take that VM1 access, I will able to take the storage account access from the VM1, which is inside my default subnet, which do not have that service endpoint configuration. Make sense to you, Weber? Uh,
Yeah, thank you.
Sumit, I have one question related to Bastion server. Say, for example, I have another VNet, and in that VNet, I have one VM. So, can I take the access from this Bastion server to that VNet VM access?
Okay, so
Or
you're saying it inside a different VNet, you have one VM,
yeah,
right? And you deployed that Bastion here, right? You need
correct.
to deploy that Bastion from there as well. Because the
Okay,
Bastion we are deploying it, it's going to deploy it inside that VNet and then inside that resource group. Okay, I
okay,
think that Bastion is there. Let me show you that how to take that Bastion access, right?
okay.
Go inside that VM1,
Mm-hmm.
connect Bastion. Oh, this is still updating. Let's just wait. I'll show you. This will take some time, right? At least in my experience, it takes 20 to 25 minutes to get it deployed. Once this will deploy, it's very easy to take that access. I just need to provide my username and the password and then click connect. Like the way a new tab will get open here, right?
Okay,
Encrypted tab is going to be open it. Like the way I'm managing my RDP here, right? From this client,
okay.
you will be seeing it that RDP access from there. I'll show you that. But
Yeah,
now
but
let's just
you're talking about the same VNet. I'm asking about the
no. So
different
in the
VNet.
different VNet, you need to have the new Bastion subnet deployed.
Or else I need to configure the VNet pairing, right?
You need to
Or
configure that
else.
VM pairing.
Okay,
That
okay.
yeah. Okay. Now let's just take that access here, the VM2 access with the private win. What is that private IP address of my VM? There's 10.0.1.4. I'm connecting to VM2. Now this is my VM2, right? Now here, what I need to do, I'm trying to access my storage account. Let's just do one thing. Download the storage explorer here, right? Before that, I'll disable that enhance security so I won't get the pop-up again and again. Can anyone please tell me, right? I do not have that public access, public IP there on this VM, right? 10.0.1.4. No public IP is there, only private IP is there. But still, I'm able to go to the internet. Why? Any answer, right or wrong? I mean, feel free to put your answer there, right? My question was, I do not have that public IP, right? Like the way I've had this 9870 on my VM1. I do not have any public IP on 10.0.1.4. But still, I'm able to access to reach out to my internet. Why? Any guess? And don't worry, right? Put any answer which you getting it right. So we'll able to explain it more here. So this. Node.
Maybe that VM, the VMnet 10.0.1.4 have default internet access from the VNet side.
Correct. So this will have the default access, right? If we do not have that public IP, like the way that's correct, like the way we put it that public IP here, right? The way we are putting that private IP address here, right? It public IP, once you have that VM public IP have access, right? VM with that public IP, it will be more for that inbound access, right? I mean, why do you need that private public IP, right? To take that VM access. That is for more inbound communication. But by default, VM, we do not have that public IP also, you will get that internet access. We'll get the internet access via VNet because VNet will also have that public IP internet access, right? So for all outbound communication, you will get that access to that internet. If you even if you do not have that public IP there. Okay. Now let's do one thing. I'm going to download that storage account. Storage Explorer there. Click here, download.
Sumit,
Mhm.
if we compare with AWS, we need to configure the internet gateway for the
Yes,
internet
that's the
access, right?
concept. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
In that as AWS, right? You need to have
Mm-hmm.
that internet gateway, or you have that
Mm-hmm.
internet subnet there, right? Which is not there
Okay,
on that
public.
Azure,
Mm-hmm.
right? Public subnet,
Okay.
which is not there on Azure, right? If you do not
Okay.
have that internet access,
Mm-hmm.
you deployed your virtual machine without no public IP, you will get that by
Mm-hmm.
default outbound access.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
That's the difference there. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Just trying to download that. Yeah. It's a bit slow for a second. Storage. Storage. Entire page is not loading. The browser is. Let me download the patch there. The browser is not supporting to download that. Just waiting to download this Edge, and then from there we'll download that Explorer, and from there we'll test it out if our service endpoint is working or not. So I'm downloaded that tool. Let me install that. It's very easy to install that tool here. Next, installing. And it's open source too. You won't get charged anything. So storage account is down. Storage is downloaded. Now what I'm going to do it here, I'm going to connect my account first. Sign into my account. Next. going to put my username and password here. 1 second, let me put my username password. Okay, I'm logged in here. An Explorer. Connect to storage account. Now again, I'll show you. I mean, there are multiple ways like we did. Let me just connect that account name and keys. What is that name? Demo security. Copy, put it here, and then copy the keys. Let me take out that keys as well. I'm for this demo, I'm taking the easiest way, but always follow the shared access signature, right? Always follow the shared access signature. Copy that, go back to your VM1 and then VM inside that. Put that keys here. Now next, connect. Let's just see if I'm able to access that. Blog. See them setting. Yeah, see. Now my traffic is going it. Wow, how my traffic is going it, because if you see it there, currently public access is disabled, right? In networking, this is my demo security. Public access is disabled. No public access enabled. Only virtual network and IP address is allowed. And inside that virtual network, I allowed my default to, right? If I'll try to access it here, I won't be able to on my local system, right? The browser which I open it. If I'll try to access it from here, I am not getting that access. I'm getting that access is not authorized. Correct. But if I'll also trying to access it from the demo VM, the VM which is having that no public access, right? From there, I'm able to access my storage account. How? This is going via service endpoint. Again, I'm not denying it. The traffic is not going on the internet, but this is going via VNet communication, most sophisticated way to access my VNet to my storage account via service endpoint. So this is about that service endpoint. For creating that service endpoint, always you need to follow two processes. One thing is create the service endpoint at the VNet level, like the way we did it here. And then second, allow that in the networking section. Any doubt on the service endpoint? Like here, service endpoint, create that. There is no cost with that service endpoint, so you can utilize that. Default to subnet, and from the default to, I have my VM. From there, I was accessing my storage account via Storage Explorer. You can access your storage account via portal alerts. There is a one way to access via portal itself. So no need to download that, but this is just with the portal storage browser right here. You can see it there. So blob and container, like see there, demo. I have my demo. Inside my demo, I have my, so currently see, I'm getting this operation is not authorized to perform. Why? Because this is again, I'm trying on the internet, and from the internet, my access is disabled here, right? If I'll allow that access, let me for a time being to show you that if I'm allowing that access from the internet, I will be able to access my storage browser. Let's just wait to save. Go in a storage browser. Just refresh the page once. Storage browser, blob and container, demo. Now I'm getting my app.json file, right? So this is all about that storage account, service endpoint, and private endpoint, right? Let's just see that if my Bastion is deployed. Okay, now Bastion is also deployed. Bastion, this is what deployed. It created a Bastion subnet, right? Like the Vandana said, if you are deploying it inside the different VNet, right? You have it. You need to have some connectivity in between, then you will be able to access your Bastion server. Now, to give you more better example of that one, right? What happened with that companies? What company will do? They have one centralized VNet. They have one centralized VNet. Inside that centralized VNet, they deploy this Bastion server, and then they have that connectivity with different VNet, right? So what they do, only take that Bastion access of the centralized VM inside the centralized VNet, and from there they can take the child access of other. Okay, so this way you will be saving your cost only because this Bastion is costly service, right? You will getting charged for this Bastion. Okay, right? So now let me show you how to take that Bastion access. One second. Very easy to take that Bastion access. Just put the username and the password. My username is, so what I did, I click on Bastion, I connect and click on the Bastion here. I'm just putting my username and password. Easy admin, and then password here. That's it. Nothing else you need to do it to connect your Bastion. Now what happened? A new tab will get open as soon as I'm putting that password. Let me allow that pop up here. Right now, click on connect. A new Bastion, new window will get open. This is that encrypted way, right? It's connecting me. Now see, the same thing, right? Which I did it there. Same thing, I'm doing it here now, right? Same thing, I'm doing it here. It's just the browser base. What's more about that browser base? Like, see, I connected my storage account here. I'm getting that access from there, right? Everything. This is my 10.0.4. Everything I can do it here on the browser base, right? It's a very restricted way. It's very limited function you can do on the Bastion. Like if you need to put any file, copy and paste, you cannot do it there. But you can text and thing, you can put it and copy it there. Like let's say I'm putting it anything here, right? So let's say I'm putting it here. So from that suit, I need to copy it here. From here only I will be able to copy. That's it. Right? That's very limited thing you can do it there. But yeah, it's very secure. It's an encrypted session. You're doing it here, right? And you're not putting it any public password or public thing, right? You're avoiding that public thing there. So that's what you need to. You just click on the deployed Bastion. Bastion server get deployed, and then you will be able to access your VM without public exposure there. Okay. Disconnected. Very
Sumit,
simple to disconnect. Yeah, please go ahead.
if we don't want to allow them portal access, then is there any
No,
way to take access?
no. As far I know, the
Okay.
Bastion, you need to have that
Mhm.
portal access. Otherwise,
Okay.
the only way you need to put your username password is here, right? You just
Mhm.
need to commit.
Okay.
Then there, this is the only way. If you're not having
Mhm.
this access, right, then the
Mhm.
better way to either connect or provide the access via VPN.
Okay. Point to side VPN. Okay.
Yeah, point to site or site
Okay.
to site also. Sorry, point to site, and then
Mhm.
share the client like the way we did it there, right? In our
Okay.
previous class. So
Okay.
let's just take a 15 minutes break. Once we'll come back, right, we'll cover another important topic, which is DDoS, distributed denial of services. And we'll cover everything like the mitigation process and then automatic realization of all that stuff, right? The threshold values, all that we are going to cover once we'll come back. So it's 10:41. We're going to meet it at 10:56 there. Thanks, guys. It's just a coffee break there. We stop the recording. So Bastion we discussed already, right? And we seen that Bastion, how we can take that Bastion access, right? And it's a very secure way to take that Bastion access, right? On the browser basis, you will get that access without exposing your virtual machine onto the internet. If you do not have that public IP access, right? So that's the way you can take that Bastion, right? And take that RDP, browser-based RDP or browser-based SSH connection of your virtual machine, whether it's a Linux or it's a Windows-based. Now, the next thing which we are going to discuss is Azure Bastion Service, Azure DDoS. Do you guys have any idea what is DDoS? Anyone, right? Most of us from the networking background or in the security background. Any idea what is DDoS? What basically DDoS doing it there, right?
Uh, it's
Kind of
allowing.
attack. Yeah.
Denial of services, it is kind of attack.
Kind of attack, right? So it's a DOS, denial of services is DOS, right? But I'm talking about DDoS. What is DDoS?
Distributed, actually. See, attacking from different sources,
Exactly.
so that the legal people who can they don't provide the access to the legal people who are
Correct.
supposed to access. It's like
Exactly. That's correct. That's pretty much what I was like expecting. So what happened with the DDoS, right? What happened with the DDoS, like the Venkat said, right? It's a distributed denial of services, right? So you're going to get that. Santosh was also right. He was saying that DOS, which is denial of services, the only difference from the denial of services and distributed denial of services, in a denial of services, you're going to get the attack from one specified location, right? Or from the specified IP address or known IP address. But what happened with the distributed denial of services, you started getting that denial of services from the multiple locations. Let's say, for an example, this is my app. This is my app, right? Let's say I'm saying it, this is my web app. Any web app. Okay. This is my web app. Now what happened? I'm aware about that. This web app is being configured to take that, let's say, 100 requests per second. Okay. My web app has been designed in such a way which can accommodate 100 requests per second. Okay. And it can be from anywhere. It can be like this actor which is there. It can be from any reason. But max capacities I can take it is 100. Okay. Now, and I know my traffic will come from, my customer will be in a US, Asia, or to be more specific, India. And then the other one is, let's say, Europe. I know my customer has been designed in such a way, they are placed here and they can hit my traffic, they can hit my application on my web app, and maximum accommodation I can handle it is 100 requests per second. Right? Now, what happened all of a sudden, instead of getting the 100 requests per second, I'm seeing it 1 lakh requests per second or 100K requests per second on my web app. 100K requests per second. And now the request which is not only originating from US, India, and Europe, I'm also saying my request coming from North Europe, North Korea, for an example, right? North Korea, or you can say the request is also coming from Russia or some other location, right? Which is not expected, which I'm expecting my traffic should not come from there, right? But all of a sudden, I'm starting seeing that request from all these regions as well. Okay. All of a sudden, I'm starting seeing my request from all of these regions. And that too from not 1 or 2 IPs. There are hundreds of IPs are started bombarding the request on my web app. Bombarding the request on my web app. Right? Now, because of that reason, I'll take you one example, right? I was working with one of the customer, which is very reputed customer, right? And they have their giant name in the domain which they were working, right? They have their giant name working on that one. Now, my request was the internal request that my web app which was configured. It was the cloud configured application. It's a real scenario which I'm telling you guys, right? My application was configured for the real web app, and this application which is designed, it's not that public internet, it's not that public application design. I'm aware about that third-party vendors, right? The third-party vendors which was there, they will be only accessing my web app. For an example, let's say this is a third-party guy, right? This third-party guy, is supposed to access my web app, right? So they are accessing this web app, right? And I designed this web app in such a way, it was a .NET application. It was designed in such a way that it could only accommodate 500 requests per second. I know this is very less. This is very less, but anyhow, my request is designed in such a way it can only accommodate 500 requests per second, right? It can only accommodate 500 requests per second. What happened with this? Why it's not getting 500 requests per second? I know it's very low, but I mean, I've designed my application in such a way that you are not supposed to access my application. I'm not supposed to access my application. Only third-party person which have the dependencies call, right? They will be only calling my application. And maximum bandwidth of my application is 500 requests per second. And my application, this entire web app, right, which is again deployed inside that web app of Azure, right, is being configured with the DDoS plan as well. Okay, DDoS plan. Okay, let's come back to this scenario. Before that, let's understood something on the DDoS. Now, what is DDoS? I'll come back on this topic, right? The way which I was telling it to give you the real picture, a real world scenario. But before that, let's understand the DDoS. In the DDoS, what happened? DDoS is like Venkat and Santosh said, it's a distributed denial of services first thing, right? Distributed denial of services. Distributed denial of services, right? Which means you have your application, right? And I'm being an attacker, right? And I have my presence across the world. I want to bring down your application from different source, right? I want to bring down your application, or I want to put some so many requests, whether it's a reconnaissance attacks, whether it's a ping attack, PS ping attack, any way of or bombarding the request, right? I want to bring my ultimate goal is to bring down your application, so I can utilize your all resources, right? And whatever sort of thing I want to do, I can do it there. So I'm putting that I'm putting that request from across the region. It's very simple, right? Even I can stimulate a DOS attack. I can stimulate a DDoS attack just for that testing purpose, right? But very easy, you can do it, right? So attackers can do it there. Now, what happened? Let's just think about these are all hackers in different reasons. They want to bring down my application down, right? Now, if you have your DDoS plan activated in Azure, so DDoS, we know, right? What is that? Just to bring down your application down from different source, right? Now, DDoS for that type of security, right? For to avoid such kind of scenarios, Azure comes with that DDoS plan. Azure comes with the DDoS plan, right? Now, first thing is, which is very important, it's one of the most costliest service on the Azure, which means you need to pay the upfront cost. You need to pay the upfront cost of how much? You need to pay the upfront cost of $3,000, $3,000 USD, right? If whether you are utilizing it or not utilizing it, that's not something you Azure is going to count it. But as soon as you're enabling the DDoS, right, you need to pay the 3,000 USD. Right now, first thing is it comes with the two SKUs. The first SKU is about to over. So, but I'll just tell you, first SKU is standard. SKUs is again the variance of parameter on which they're going to charge this, and then second one is the premium. Now, what happened with the standard and the premium? Anyhow, the standard is going to be over. No, later or sooner, they are going to decommission that standard, right? But the difference between the standard and the premium is, with the standard, if you have that standard enabled, right? Any attack which is happened, any attack, let's say, now this person is putting your application down, right? So that you need to first have that alert and mechanism set up, right? To get the know that attack is happening, right? So standard is they are going to notify you. They are going to notify you. We are saying abnormal activities. We are showing that abnormal sort of request on your application, right? Abnormalities, right? So they are going to see that they are going to notify you that abnormalities is happening. But yeah, obviously you need to have that alert and logging mechanism in place for that. For all of them, you need to have that alert and mechanism in place. Now, with the premium one, what happened with the premium one? Premium one is they are going to notify you, right? Instead, they just going to notify you. They are also going to some other experts. What other expert? First thing is they are going to notify you, right? The alert is happening, the attack is happening, right? After notification, a mitigation team, Azure mitigation team, right? Mitigation team will come in a picture, and they are going to block that communication. They are going to block that non-legitimate. First, they are going to analyze the request. How they're going to analyze it? For an example, let's say this request is configured with 500 requests per second, right? With the premium feature, they are going to work on that AI/ML. They are going to work on the machine learning. They are going to work on that machine learning, and they are going to analyze that what is that maximum request you are receiving it per day. Let's say first day I received 400 requests. Second day I received 500 requests. Third day I received 300 requests, right? So it's just the pattern. They are going to analyze it on day-to-day basis, on everyday basis, how many requests you are receiving it, and generally from what source you are receiving it. For an example, I'm receiving my request from the Europe, but all of a sudden I'm receiving it from North Korea. So they are going to analyze that by machine learning mechanism. They are going to analyze your request, right? So first thing is you're not going to do many things with that DDoS. Majority of the things Azure is going to do it there. But what they are going to do it, I'm going to tell you that. I'm telling you that. So that machine learning and AI/ML part, they are going to analyze your day-to-day request. Let's say every day, on an average, you are receiving 500 requests per second, right? But now one day, you are started receiving that 100K requests per second, which is very abnormal for them. So now, startingly, they are not going to look at that and they are going to block it. First thing is, they are going to see that if these requests are genuine or not. How? Because that they have that parameter, right? They have that their analysis done on these requests, right? So first thing they are going to see the request which is currently coming, which is more than 20 times of that, like more than 200 times of the request which are receiving it. First thing they are going to see that if these requests which is coming are genuine or not. If not genuine, right? How they're going to analyze this? They are going to look at that the parameter, the request which every day they are receiving it. Okay, they are going to look at that, and then once they'll find this is not the genuine, right? Now this is not the genuine. Now after that also they have some threshold limit. They have some threshold until and unless there are lesser things to be done on that practical part, but majority of the things you need to understand the concept of Azure DDoS. The threshold have it. They have different threshold like TCP SYN flag, TCP SYN threshold, right? Half open TCP SYN flag. ठीक है, half open TCP and then UDP flag, UDP packets, right? So they have different parameters on that. As far I know, the TCP, right, they have that 50K, right? 50K request per minute. And then half TCP open is, I think, 100K. These are the threshold, right? And then UDP is very large, which is 200K. Now, first thing is your request has been configured with that 500K, right? I'll tell you the drawback which I've seen it there, which comes on the point of the threshold with that Azure. But these are the threshold values which you have it. Once they will breach that threshold, right? That mitigation team will come in a picture. After this mitigation team will come in a picture, they are going to block the traffic. That's it. That's what they are going to do it. The mitigation team will come in a picture. They are going to block the traffic and they are going to notify you, hey, this is the traffic which I was seeing it here from that different reason. Our mitigation team came in a picture. They analyze the traffic, they look at the pattern, and then finally they blocked it, or whatever that analysis they have done it, they are going to share it there. This is all about that DDoS plan, what they are going to do it there. Now, let's come back to my scenario. What happened with my scenario was, they were having the same thing, right? I was having the same thing with my application, right? And now with my application, what was happening? My request was configured with 500 requests per second from my third-party app only, for my third-party request only, right? Now, all of a sudden, my request was, instead of getting the 500 requests, I was seeing that my request was reached to 10K, 10K requests per second, which is again not very high, but I mean, look at that, the number of requests compared to my application, which was only designed to accept the 500 requests per second. Now they are saying 10K requests per second. And my application has been configured with the DDoS also, that too with the premium feature. My application request has been configured with the DDoS plan, that too with the premium feature, right? Now, and my logging and monitoring was also in a place. My logging and the monitoring was also in a place. But still, but then also the DDoS was not came in a picture. How I get to know that DDoS is happening? Because my application started showing the latency. These third-party vendors, right, which is the genuine user, they started dropping a mail to my application team and to my infra team, and they were saying that we started seeing some drop in my request, which we are trying to analyze. Then we came into logging part, and we seen that this is how this amount of requests we are getting it, right? And then all that follow-up happened with the Azure. We reach out to them. We said, hey, our request was only designed to handle 500 requests per second. And this is what happening from last 1.5 years, right? Now, we started seeing on that day, on the particular day of attack, we were saying that 10K requests per second, but still the DDoS mitigation team, right? Neither they came in a picture or neither they notified us, right? And we were paying the $3,000. Customer was paying the $3,000 USD. Why this was happened, right? This is not supposed to be happen, right? When you are saying it, the DDoS should come in a picture, looking at that AI/ML pattern of your request, right? Then they will block and then mitigate the application there, right? Now, so this was our question, which taken the long follow-up, right? And after that, we decided to remove the DDoS. What the answer we received from the Microsoft, they were saying it until and unless that threshold, the threshold which was designed in such a way, like the TCP thing is 50K per minute, half TCP open session is 100K, and UDP packet is 200K. Okay, right? I understand this is not that high, right? But looking at my application, which was only designed to take 500 requests per second, which for them this threshold is quite high. For them, the threshold is quite high, right? 50K, 200K, and 100K. Or I mean, my request was only 500. For them, the threshold was quite high. But they said this is what the threshold was. If AI/ML pattern will come in a picture. After that, they are also going to look at the threshold values. Only once the threshold is going to be breached, they are going to mitigate that request, right? So looking at this concept, right? So this was like that time, it was 3 years back I was talking about. Looking at this concept, it was like kind of flaws in their DDoS plan, which they were offering it. Until unless you're not going to cross that threshold, the DDoS mitigation team will not going to come in a picture, right? Now, this was the issue which I seen in my real scenarios. My DDoS happened, right? And then again, that mitigation team was not came in a picture. Altogether, my customer was paying $3,000, right? And then, okay, Venkat saying, who decide the threshold? Is it Azure? Azure decide that this threshold values, right? Because like look at my values. My values was 500 requests per second, whether it's a TCP, UDP, or half open TCP. My request, my application was only designed to 500 requests per second. So on my values, it was only designed to be happen 500 requests per second. But what they told to me, they told until and unless this threshold is not going to breach out, the mitigation team will not come in a picture. So what does it mean? If you're designing one application which is only designed to take that 100 requests per second, right? And you have the DDoS which you are paying $3,000, right? Then Azure will come to you and will say, as mitigation team will only come in a picture until unless the 200K or 100K or 50K will get breached out. I have all that communication that time was in a mail, right? All that communication from the Microsoft and everything was on that mail. And one thing, you cannot modify this threshold also. You cannot modify this threshold, right? You cannot modify this threshold, right? I was like told them if we can modify this threshold, right? So the request which I received from them, they told that below 20K is not possible, right? Below 20K is not possible. That's what you must be saying that, right? It's very rare. You're saying that Azure Cloud is having that DDoS attack and all that because their threshold was quite high, right? That's what happened. And then later on, we removed the DDoS. Now, configuration of DDoS is very easy. How? Go in a So how to create that? Very easy to create that. Go in a DDoS protection plan. Click here. Nothing, no detail you need to provide it there. Once you create the DDoS plan, you need to provide your resource. Let's say I'm providing it their demo. I'm naming it anything, right? Tags and then review and create. That's it. My DDoS plan will get created. My DDoS plan will get created. Now, what happened after that? Let's say inside this VNet, right? Inside this VNet, whatever the resources are there, I need to cover them to my DDoS plan. How? Let me show you that. Let me open the DDoS and we'll show you how you can do that. So this is your VNet. So DDoS works on the resource level. Okay. DDoS works on the resource level. You're saying the DDoS protection here. Click here. Enable the DDoS. Okay. Enable the DDoS. Right. Now, since I do not have any DDoS plan, I can just click it DDoS plan here. Right. Now, once I enable the DDoS on that VNet level, right. So whatever the resources which comes inside this VNet, whether it's a load balancer, whether it's an application gateway, whether it's a virtual machine, whether it's a front door, or what all stuffs will be there, they are going to cover inside this DDoS plan. All these resources are going to cover it inside my DDoS plan there. Okay. Now, so DDoS, all the resources which have that public IP address, right? Because like load balancer, everything, that front end communication, right? That front end things, right? Like your web app will have some public IP, right? That public IP is going to attach with the DDoS plan inside that VNet. So this DDoS, let's say this is my private IP address of load balancer, right? That load balancer needs to be covered with that DDoS plan. If application gateway is there, if virtual machine is there, anything resources which have that public IP address, which comes with that DDoS, you need to enable that DDoS plan there. And that's it. You don't have to do anything then after. That's what Microsoft is saying it, right? You don't have to do anything then after. They are going to that mitigate the request. They are going to analyze the request, AIML pattern on the different threshold, right? From different reasons, right? That's only you need to do it. You just enable the DDoS plan, right? Enable the DDoS plan and your job is done on the DDoS related things. If any attack is happen, anything is happen, you don't have to worry about that. DDoS is going to trigger and Azure is going to work on that. So it's very simple thing. You don't have to do many things on the DDoS side, right? Now look at this part here. Majority of the things we already covered. Subnets, connected device is something. If you go, let's say you got one IP address 10.1.1.1, right? Now from where you'll get to know, okay, you understood that the 10.0.1.5 comes inside this subnet, but what exactly that resource is there? What exactly that resource is there? One thing you can search that, right? But still, let's say after searching that, you're not finding it. So what you can do, you come in a connected device, right? Inside the connected device, if 10.0.1.5 attached to some resources, you're going to identify it here. You're going to find it there. This is very handy, a connected device while troubleshooting it. What happens? Sometimes we receive some alerts, right? Sometimes we receive some alerts and we are not sure what IP address is this one, right? So you can come inside that connected device. And from there, you'll get to know that what device, like this one, right? 10.0.0.4. It's a network interface IP of this VM, right? Like this 10.0.1.4. It's a network interface IP of this network interface attached to this subnet. If I'll click on this one, this is the network interface, right? Attached to VM1 public IP. So by this way, you will able to find out where exactly that IP address is attached, right? Like say 10.0.0.4 here. Right? By this way, you can identify that. Okay. So majority of the steps on that VNet, right? This Microsoft Defender for Cloud we're going to cover later on. Firewall also we discussed, DNS server, peering, service endpoint, private endpoint, all that things we are going to discuss. This monitoring section, we are going to have another dedicated class for all of them. We are going to cover that as well. Now, any questions or DDoS? Anything, any questions you have it on the DDoS? Feel free to ask. Are there any default settings or no? You won't be able to modify any threshold settings for the DDoS, Venkat. It just on the back end Azure is going to take part. You won't be able to all the settings side, all the steps which we need to do it in Azure. I already shared you. That's the only thing you need to do it on that Azure DDoS side. Any threshold, any configuration with that mitigation, anything you won't be able to do it. All that things happen at the back end of that Azure.
So you just enable this.
Yeah, you just enable
production
that.
and
Yeah.
that's it.
But that's it. You just
And
enable
you need
create
to
the
assign it to that
correct.
the
Create the
resource. That's
DDoS,
it.
create the DDoS plan, assign it to that VNet level, and then on the public IP level. That's it. Nothing else. You won't be. You will be doing it there. That's all thing you need to do it there. Okay.
So is it like suppose there are many resources in an VNet. If you assign it to VNet, it applies to everything. And does it cost extra or does it depend
No,
on
no.
many?
If you have, let's say, I think with the premium standard plan, right, you will have the 100 public IP. You can attach that 100 public IP. Let me show you that.
Okay.
So until unless you won't be crossing that 100 public IP limit, right? You won't be paying other than the $3,000. Okay.
Okay.
So there will be limitation on the IP addresses, right? If you cross that, then only you need to reach out to that Microsoft and tell them, hey, my IP addresses are getting over on that limit, right? You need to increase that. Then you will be increasing that. Their sales team, right? And then their technical team. But as far I know, the 3 years back, 100 public IP, you can cover it with that premium plan, which is quite high. 100 IP and means 100 resources public facing. Okay. Yeah. So now this is about that Bastion service, DDoS, and then service endpoint, right? Now, other thing is key vault. What is key vault? If I'll come here, what is key vault? Key vault is, it's a key management system, right? What I mean by that, let's say you have any application running, right? You have your any application is running, you will be having some secrets, right? Or you will be having your SSL certificates, SSL TLS certificate. For an example, let's say I'm accessing this HTTP facebook.com. Okay. Facebook.com. What happened with this facebook.com? They having some TLS certificate, right? Look at this one. Certificate which is there, right? The facebook.com, they have certificate signed by DigiCert, right? All that certificate is there, right? So my application need that certificate. My application need that certificate for the TLS communication, right? So that the communication can be encrypted. You can see that log symbol which is coming it here, right? The communication is secure. So I need the TLS certificate. And at the same time, if I'll put that password here, right? Let's say I'm putting some password here. That password, my application should get to know I'm storing somewhere, right? Application passwords or application secrets, right? Or application cryptographic secrets. I need to store somewhere so my application can take it from there. For example, think about this way. If I have my application, okay, if I have application which is designed in such a way that you have your e-com application where you are like buying some phones or selling some phones, right? And then once the user logged in, they are putting the username and the password, right? Or they are accessing that the details of that mobile phones and all that, right? So that application needs some secrets to be stored there. Application need their application data also to be put it there, right? So where exactly you can put these data? Where exactly you can put that application secrets and application credentials there? That all you can put it there in your key vault. all that secrets and all that application related stuffs, like for certificates, right? For an example, take that example of TLS, which so we'll get more on clarity on that, right? So it's a key management system, first thing, that keyword. Now you have your certificate there, right? The TLS certificate, we all know it's for the one year, right? You have that certificate is there. Now what happened with the certificate? Every 1 year, this certificate going to be expired, right? So one thing is, what do? You put your certificate on that pub. Every 1 year, you renew your certificate manually, right? You have your certificate. You should renew your certificate manually there. Okay, which is very manual task you're doing it, or sometime it can also lead to failure also. Let's say you forget to update your certificate. You forget to update your TLS certificate there, right? And then application will be down. Your certificate got expired, right? And then you'll be going to see a very bad GUI that application is not secure, which is going to give you a bad impression to your customer and then client, right? Now, so to avoid that stubs and to avoid it all the scenarios, what we can do it there, I can put my certificate and I can put my keys, I can put my uh, credentials in my keyword. And from there, automatically, I can integrate my resources like my load balancer, like my front door, like my application gateway, like my virtual machine, like my function app, right? I can integrate them with my keyword and will tell them, take the secrets, take the certificates, or take that uh, uh, client secrets or I mean a password from that keyword, right? That I can build it, put it in my code, and then I can from there I can take it there. So it's a keyword management system, and again it's a PaaS-based service. Again, it's a PaaS-based service. Very easy to create it, and then if I'll go it here in my keyword. Again, it's a PaaS-based service. Two ways you can access it. One is via private endpoint, and then other one is like we discussed, service endpoint privately, and then there way. So if I'll create it, click on demo. There are many things to discuss on the keyword. We'll come on that and we'll discuss one by one. But put the name also on the keyword. Keyword name is also needs to be unique, like the way in the storage account, right? So let's say I'm putting it some name like this way. I'm going to deploy it inside my center India. And then next. Now we'll come on all these topics one by one. Right, it's pretty much similar, right? Like the way we did it in the storage account, but we are going to commit there. Public access, all internet, right? All network, selected network, private endpoint is also there. And then review and create. Review and create here. Review and create. Now I'm just creating a review and review. We are going to discuss that automation as well, right? How we can, for now I'm creating all these stuffs via manually, right? On that Azure portal, one by one I'm creating it, right? But how can I automate that stuff? How can I create that uh, through automation, right? We're going to discuss that. There are multiple stuffs are there, like most favorable and most utilized tool is Terraform, right? Terraform is one of the best way and easy to manage the resource. You can use the same you can use the same configuration script file for managing your Azure resources, for managing your AWS, managing your GCP resources, right? Just to write that variable files, and then you can do the deployment to create any resources, and it's very easy to manage, right? And it's always recommended to manage your cloud resources via IAC, which is infrastructure as a code. So Terraform is not a part of this course, but I'm going to tell you ARM template, which is Azure Resource Management, right? How you can do that deployment using that ARM template. Now, what happened here? My resource got created, my keyword got created here, right? It's very simple thing. See there, the URI is there, right? that URI you need to integrate with your code. You need to tell them in your code which you're writing it for your application that this is my keyword URI for my application secrets, for my certificate and all that, right? If I'll go here and if I'll browse it here, see what you're going to get it. Access is denied, forbidden, 403, right? So by default, you won't be get that access of your keyword. How? I'll show you that as well. Now, look at this one. There are keys, secret, and certificate. If I'll come here, will it allow me to create that certificate or keys? See, it's showing me that you're not authorized to view that content. You're not authorized to view that content, right? Now, so what happened by default? By default, when you create that keyword, right, it's not even allowing you to create the resources, create the secrets, create the certificate, or create that keys, even if you created that keyword, right? If you created that keyword. Now, here comes two things, right? Here comes two things. Let me just come here. So you created a keyword. It's me who created that keyword, right? Keyword created. Now, if I'll try to create some secrets, keys, or even certificates, right? It's not allowing me to do that. By default, it's not allowing me to do that, right? You need to provide your access on that keyword. You need to you created a keyword, that's one thing, right? But if you're trying to manage, if you're trying to modify some resources, modifying these things, right? Basically, these things are there on the keyword only, keyword, secrets, keys, and certificate. It's not going to allow you there. Then how are you going to do that? Now, there are two ways to manage your permission model, which I say the permission on that keyword. Two ways to manage that permission model. What are two ways? One thing is RBAC, source based access, right? The second thing is policy based, keyword policy. One thing is RBAC and the second one is policy based. What is RBAC and what is keyword? Policy based, right? If you take a step back, right, in our intra ID classes, we told you, right, for any resources, you can create that RBAC role assignment, right, for the role assignment. How? If you look at there on this keyword, access control, right, inside my access control. So if I need to provide that keyword access to myself, I need to add that role assignment. Go add the role assignment there. I'll show you how. Now, this is all that role, what key reader role, these are all that job function role, right? Which is that if you want to give that only that particular, say I'm saying it keyword admin role only, right? Or keyword certificate user role only. So this is going to allow me that role. Or some privilege rules are there. If I'm saying it owner, it's going to grant me all full access, including that RBAC also, and then modify and customize the resource, right? So let's say I'm selecting that owner role. Now, whom I need to assign that? I need to assign this to myself. I can do it for user, group, principal, and manage identity as well. But for now, I'm just saying assign it to myself. So this is Sumit. Let me assign this to Sumit. All right, I assign this to Sumit. Now, I'm saying it, allow all access for now. Allow users to do anything, right? Now, condition. Now, this role, right? Sumit is going to get that owner level on this keyword, which is there. Okay. Owner level role on that keyword. Now, let's just try to do it again now. I have that keyword role. I have that keyword owner role on this thing, right? Now, try to create that certificate or try to create that keys. Let's say I'm saying it creating a keys and then I'm putting that key name. Okay. It's a key type RSC or EC, whatever that. RSC size 2048 or 4096, whatever you want to put it, you can put it there, right? Activation keys, let's say I'm saying it that particular day, it's going to activate and then this day it's going to be expired. Okay. Now, rotation policies also you can put it there. You can rotate your keys, which you are putting it there, right? I'm trying to create it there. But still, it's going to allow me not going to create that keys here. Right? It's not going to create there. Because wait for some time, the role I recently assigned. Let's just check if your role has been assigned to this one or not. Okay, this is much different. And then view access to these resources. Me add that role. I think I assigned to different user. Owner. Next. Select member. So okay, I'm assigning this to and then review and assign, right? You just need to fit for some time also once you do that role assignment, right? So roles, okay, wait for some time. Once the role you assign, you just need to wait a couple of minutes to role come in a picture, right? So that's the one role. The other role assignment is access policies. Is that access policies, right? You can configure that access policies on that keyword. Look at this one, right? If I'll change this to I'm changing this from R back to world policies. Now, what happened with this one? It was again this role to become access policies. Now, okay, I changed that. Now, what I need to, I showed you that access role management, right? Access role management to add your role on that keyword. This is the one way to provide that permission model. The second way is on that access policies, which means if I click one access policies, let me create one. So I'm saying it, right? I need to provide all these key permission, secret permission, and certificate permission. Let's say I'm saying it get list update, okay, or create. Or let me show it for all for this demo. Selecting all secrets permission, selecting all certificate management permission, right? Now, to whom I want to give this access? Either it can be application service principal or it can be any username. So let's say I'm saying it to this guy, right? I'm assigning to this guy, Sumo. Next, right? I need to provide any application there. I can put it. If you remember that day I created one test app. It's there or not? App, AD reporting is, yeah, all this application which is there, right? If you want to provide that application base like that, your Sentinel, your provider application, all that, right? But for now, let's skip that. We are not in. So I'm doing it. I'm providing that Sumo access policies of managing all the secrets, keys, and then certificate permission. So this is what I did. Get, list, update, all that permission, secret permission, certificate permission I provided to this guy. Okay. Now, if you seeing that, right? If you seeing that operation is list not enabled for that access, okay, that's okay. But yeah, these are the two ways you can manage your resources, either from that RBAC or either from that access policy space, right? Two ways you can do it there and then manage your resources there. Now, if you go in a networking, I think I added a role to a right user or some other user, not sure. Let's go. No. Cross. Fail to submit. Role is already okay. Role is already missed. The operation list is not even a keyword policy. Let me modify this one, edit. Let me select all that over here. Next, save. Sumo is there, but I have not added one. That other person. I'm allowing all permission for this demo for now, right? On that keyword. Submit, submit here. So I can add that access policies and then RBAC role also for that person. There is no keys available now since I added the submit now. Now I can create that keys, I can create that secrets, I can create that certificate as well. So let's see. Let me create one keys, right? Just create a simple keys. So I'm saying it name this one, right? And then putting it here. So I created one keys here, right? This keys got created. Now this is key identifier, right? All the things I can put it there. Wrap it, unwrapped, and then download the public keys. It can download that keys there, right? And I can ask my, if this, let's say this key got expired, only thing I need to commit here, only thing I need to do it there, I need to come in my key vault and I create the new version. That's it. Create the new version. And now latest version which you just created, it's going to take it there, and you can delete that older version, or you can disable the older version. I'm saying it no, and then I can save it. Now that's it. Nothing, no application update you need to do it there. Just do it in my in that key vault here, and then rest of things will automatically going to work it there. This is not your stuffs. This is going to work on that admin level. But yeah, how you can do that? You similarly you can create that key secrets here. Put the name of that secret, right? Provide the secrets here. Let's say I'm saying it demo secrets. Demo secrets. I'm saying it demo secret, and I'm saying it secret value is this is my demo secret. I'm saying this is my demo secret values. That's it. I'm creating it. So it's created a demo secret which have that enable. You can get it there. You can copy it there, right? You can get the secrets value. So secrets value, this is my demo secret. I created it here, right? So all that things you can do it on that keyword level, right? Now, if we come here on the networking, same thing. Either you can allow that access on the public level, or either you can allow that access on the specified IP address. The same thing we did it for our service endpoint, right? Same thing you did it for the service endpoint. On the VNet level, you can enable that service endpoint and then add that VNet here. You will find the tags here as well, right? And then on the private endpoint as well, you can create your private endpoint, attach that NIC to your keyword here. Right. Another thing is, if you go on that virtual machine, sorry, if you go on that NSG, go on that NSG here, network security group, right? On the NSG also, you will get couple of things to do, right? You can add the rule, like this is the point. If I'll say it that I'm saying it source as an IP address, let's say I'm saying it any IP address for now. This is for that NSG I'm saying it, right? Now, destination, right? There are multiple tags. Application security group we discussed. IP address also we discussed. Now service tag. This is what service tag. Again, service tag is going to be either I can select that application load balancer. I can select the storage account. See, storage. I can select that storage account. So you can bound that restriction on that storage account. I mean on that service tag level. So I'm saying it's storage account, right? Now, whatever the resources is going to be there inside your inside that your subscription on that particular region, it's going to access that storage account on that service tag level. Wait for a second, role to be added. See, now all that communication on that 0000 IP address which is coming destination to the storage account. Instead of adding that IP address public and all that, you can access that on the tags level as well. Okay, that also you can do on that service tag on the NSG level as well. Now keyword something which we created, service endpoint will going to same thing. Here you can key that keys, secrets, certificate, right? All the stuffs we are going to discuss later. The Defender for Cloud, networking, experts, we already discussed here how we can access that public level. If I'll allow that public can access, right, I'm going to get that access on that public level. Private endpoint, the same thing which we created on that storage account, you need to do it here as well. So that's about that key vault stuffs that we are going to do it there, right? In the next class, we are going to cover with the new topics, and then we'll proceed with the later classes. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we are good to wrap this session now. Any questions, guys, if you have it on the topic which we discussed so far? If you do not have any questions, feel free to drop the session.
I
Yes,
think
guys.
we can keep, we have sorry, the certificate option. So here we can upload the certificate also.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I said. Like you can upload the certificate, right? You can even generate the certificate from the Microsoft, or you can upload your own. Let's say I'll show you, right? Let me upload one certificate. I'm saying it import certificate, right? I need to provide that certificate. Let's say I'm saying it demo one. Now, where exactly that certificate? Let's say that certificate residing in my local system. Let me see if any demo certificate I have it. I'll show you how to do that. It's very easy there to do that.
So in gateway, normally we use the certificate from here, right? Like
exactly.
FRS certificate.
Yeah, all that certificate, right, on that Azure environment, you're going to upload it here, and from that application is going to take that certificate from there. Right? You're not going to manually upload that certificate. And exactly in that certificate, I have some demo certificate there. It's on the desktop. Yeah, let's say I'm just uploading this VPN root certificate is there, right? Okay, it's in a CR form. Either you can upload the PFX or PEM for certificate. But yeah, if you upload that certificate here, put that certificate password. Let me see if any PEM file is there. It's not going to allow me that. But that's the way you can upload it here, right? It's very simple to upload that certificate on that. It needs to be in a not in a CR certificate, because it's not going to analyze that. You need to upload in the PFX, which is personal information exchange. That's what that front application is going to take it there. Put that password for that certificate and then click on create, right? That's it. It's very easy to upload that certificate. And once that certificate is going to be expired, what you need to do it, like the way we did it here, you just need to create a new version. That's it. Create a new version and then provide that certificate there, and that's it. Automatically that application will going to take that certificate. There's a setting.
Yes, yes.
Okay, there's a setting to take that latest certificate from there. It's going to take that latest certificate which is there. That's
So
it.
where is the
Nothing
setting?
setting. Let me see that. It's not there. I think it's that on that level of, let me see that. Take that latest one. So access. Version we call it as version. Let me I think on that
I think
application level you need to do it, right? I need to have seen it somewhere.
suppose we have one old
Yeah.
certificate, suppose already we have, and it is expired, and we are adding new one. And if we click on the delete button, so all the certificate will be deleted, right?
No, so don't delete it, right? So let's say you are uploading a new certificate, right? Take the example of secrets, right? The same way you need to do that certificate. So this certificate got expired, right? For this example, this certificate got expired, and you created a new version. Let's say I created a new version here, I uploaded these keys, and I created a new version of my certificate, right? Now, current version is this one, the older is this one. Now you're saying this is already expired. Instead of deleting it, just put that in a disable mode. Put that in
Yes.
disable mode, right? And then now let's say anything happened to your new version, right? You quickly enable that certificate as a enabled, and then you can disable the other one. Now this is disabled. Now this is going to be take it there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So
thank
that way you can do. Yeah. Thanks, guys. If any more question you have it, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we are going to wrap that session here. You're not, so that latest one which I'm saying it, right? You're not going to get it here on that, Sujit, on that keyword level. Any resources, like in my case, front door was there, right? In the front door, when you specify that keyword, right? You are specifying that secrets going to take it from the keyword. Front door will ask what certificate you want to take it. Then you need to specify the version as in latest. Like the latest, which I mean, here I'm deploying the latest version, which is that current version. So it's going to take the latest one. It takes some time, 4 to 5 minutes or more than that, to update the certificate at the front door level or some load balancer level. But once this is done, you on that, no need, you don't have to do anything there. You just need to create the version here, and then automatically it's going to take it there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to meet tomorrow again, and we'll cover the new topic. Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.